Hello, hello, gentlemen.
Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate.
And
Papa P!
man, you have a stapler in your
I'm
office?
stapling MLS sheets because I am still on the hunt for a mobile home park, and I'm a paper guy, so I have all these. Don't say you can't find deals on the MLS. All I got to do now is call and see if I can get my terms. I am not giving up on my mobile home park hunt. I am on a mission for a certain amount of units. Sorry for the stapler, but I got to organize my MLS sheets. I'm on a mission to buy a certain number of units in mobile home parks. I have an offer out on 3, and I've found 5 more that I'm going to be calling on in the Florida area.
Like the entire state of Florida, or are you like close to you?
Would prefer to keep them as close to me as possible. Okeechobee, Oxford, Reddick, Newport Richey, just within driving distance of something that I can manage for my first mobile home park. I'm just sick and tired of driving all over for all my individual mobiles.
Just want them in one spot.
One spot, baby. One spot, just like Uncle G.
Well, so hey, here's a quick question. We can start with this because I have no knowledge of this, and it doesn't have to be a long topic. But mobile home parks, are you the landlord and own the mobile homes, or are you owning the space and people are putting their own mobile homes on them, and you're not liable for anything going on inside of their
That is
trailer?
very good. That's a good question. It's both.
Okay.
Mobile home park is a term that could be used for both. Liability, you're still liable, maybe not liable for the damages to the unit if you only do lot rent, but you still have to maintain your park.
Right.
So yeah, the ones that I prefer, I mean, obviously lot rent is different. It's more like a capitalized rate for commercial property because you're just leasing out the spaces and tenants, the people pay for everything. But I'm a fan of both, man. I'm so used to owning mobiles and maintaining mobiles. I like where we're at in Florida in the country, like old mobiles is a thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so it's both. RVs are kind of like the same thing. RV spots, RV hookups. So like some of the parks that I've offered on have part RV spaces, zone spaces, mobile home spaces, then maybe like a couple owned mobiles. And then I've offered on completely owner-owned mobile sites, which is a different type of beast.
Is there like an average price that you're kind of seeing, I don't know, per lot?
No, it's not really how it's done. I mean, mobiles, lot rents would be capitalized at a certain rate because it's more like a commercial property, whereas mobiles, they're depreciating assets essentially. They're old, they have a certain useful life. Now you could keep maintaining and redoing them, but a lot of times when they get to a certain age, you have to check with your city zoning and your county or whoever you are to make sure that you can remove the old ones and put new ones on. And how long do you have to do that, or what are the rules, depending on if you're grandfathered in and all those different things, because a lot of places are switching zonings around of certain areas. So yeah, I mean, it all varies, man, but this goes into what we were talking about the other week, or where we were talking about, like, are you seeing house prices go down or like prices? And I said, the biggest thing I'm seeing depreciating right now in pricing are commercial or income properties, because the cap rates or the return rates that somebody was once used to getting when money was cheap and free are now that money's more expensive. People are like, wait a second, I'm going to need to get a higher return because it doesn't make sense for me anymore. So some of these, I've seen a lot of multifamily stuff declining in their, like, what do you call it? Decreased value, lowering the list price. I've seen a lot of that happening. And that's the same with mobile parks too.
Okay. Other question to tack onto that. I promise this won't take much longer, but I'm curious, since this weekend and for 2 weeks is tax-free hurricane preparedness in Florida, and we're getting our first tropical storm this weekend. Are you scared about owning mobile homes in hurricane-prone Florida? Like, how do you outweigh that risk?
So there are things called tie downs. So like all my mobiles are tied down with hurricane straps. Yeah, I know. I mean, it all depends on what you mean. Roofs getting ripped off, siding getting ripped off. Depending on the age of the mobile, they were all built to different codes. Listen, I could put this in the stupidest, laymanest way that everyone's going to be like, that makes no sense. But here's how it makes sense to me. If I got a mobile from 1968 and it's still sticking around in 2022 and it survived like 60 hurricane seasons, I'm okay.
Pretty good.
It's like my house. People are like, why do you live in a 1920s wood frame house? Aren't you afraid a hurricane's going to like take it away? I'm like, bro, the thing's been here for 100 years. If a hurricane hasn't taken it yet, how shit of luck do I have to have? That the moment I buy it, I'm like in the Wizard of Oz and it just gets picked up in the wind and thrown back down. I'm like the evil witch underneath, like, help me.
Well,
So
all the houses are being built out of wood nowadays anyway, so.
Exactly. So I mean, it is a concern, John. I'm not playing it down. I mean, anyone looking needs to take that into concern. We flip a lot of mobiles, and making sure your tie downs and everything is proper is a big part of it. Making sure your decks are tied down too, just because your mobile home
I didn't think about
down
that.
doesn't mean your decks. Not necessarily required, depending on what type of financing you're doing when you resell them. But
Very interesting. Hey, we all learned a little bit about mobiles.
Did.
Good stuff.
Indeed.
Carlos, where are you at today? I feel like, Carlos, we have a different background for you. Where are you? This is not your normal studio. What is going on?
Papa P, you are an intuitive guy. I'm in the DC Investor Fuse office hanging with this guy right now.
What's up, Bob?
Sleeping on the job. Fire
my dude
him.
Ollie, he's sleeping on the job. But yeah, DC up in the mid-Atlantic for some engagement parties and weddings this weekend, but heading back to Hurricane Land Sunday night into Monday morning. So
I was gonna say you dodged the tropical storm.
Yeah. I don't
know, man.
Too much for Miami anyways. It's me and you, Brandon. They're gonna get wet this weekend.
I know, man. I'll be inside chilling out.
I'm moving somebody. So a friend asked me to move this
You're
weekend.
gonna have to postpone that, bud. You're gonna have to postpone that.
Well, I'm not here next weekend, so he's like, I guess we gotta do it this weekend. It's all good though.
Head down to like Adams Morgan for me, head down downtown, head up Arlington, like hit all the sweet spots for me. I miss it, man. I used to live, everyone, if you don't know, I'm from up north. I lived outside of the DC metro for my first couple of years while I worked in the corporate world. For a 20-year-old, God, DC was a good time. Expensive. And Baltimore too, man. Like that whole area, like Annapolis and stuff. Like I don't know. It's a different beat. It's a different vibe than what we got down here.
Definitely a different beat. I'm in Northeast DC right now. I'm only going to be hanging out with for the night. One of my buddies actually hit me up that I played college soccer with. So probably going to probably do something like Adams Morgan or something in the city here after a day's work, get a beer or something, some food.
Did you just casually drop that you played soccer for a college team there?
I noticed that.
I did. That was a casual. It was like Brad Lee's show, like dropping bombs.
Yeah. I mean, I was just giving him silent props like, damn, college athlete here. All right, I got you.
Former. No, I'm just a golfer these days and even hurt my back this past weekend.
Getting old.
Nice.
Wait, how old are you, just for the audience?
32.
32. Shit, dude. That's it. You're done. Body starts falling apart.
Dude, I've been taking golfing lessons.
I'm David Goggins. You didn't tell me you started golf. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's just me and my wife right now. And because our kids have been learning. Because we like.
Is that why you're wearing the polo today?
My wife hates this. It just happens. So she's not here. They're out somewhere else. So I'm not going golfing. All right. I got a long day of work ahead of me.
Is that the Tiger Woods collection?
I have no idea.
I'm
Adidas. I don't even know how I got this. Anyways. Oh yeah, so like golfing lessons, and I always thought it was the power of your arms. It is definitely the moving of the body, and then every day afterwards, I wake up and be like, "Why is my back hurt?" there's a lot that goes into it. So yeah, I've been learning a little bit as well.
I don't do that. I'm a sweater, so I can't go play golf in Florida heat, or I would be dehydrated. I would just shrink.
Yeah, it gets hot.
Gosh,
it gets too hot down here.
It does.
All right.
Let's flip hot into cold and talk.
I like that. That's a smooth transition.
With mobile home parks, I'm even interested because at the end of the day, you have to find properties and homeowners or property owners to get something under contract and then be able to sell that, hold on to it, whatever your exit strategy is. Papa P was showing some printouts for those of you that are watching live and maybe not listening. I'm curious for the mobile home parks, and we'll talk cold calling. how much of that are you doing like on market, just looking for stuff on the MLS versus, and do you even go direct to seller with mobile home park owners?
Oh yeah, baby. I do. I do. So the ones that I had offered on are because I did a favor, you know what I mean? It's like a realtor to realtor. I know the realtor called him up, working on something there. He's a great guy, trying to get terms accepted. But yeah, with my own cold call team. We do target direct to seller multifamily commercial properties for income producing commercial properties, right? Residential based commercial properties, not warehouse or office or anything like that, but more residential based income. And yeah, like there's one me and this guy been going, it's a 92 unit mobile home park in Florida, sent from my cold callers. Obviously, my cold callers are not trained to go through, because when you're talking to the owner of a park, it is a much higher level conversation. So they are trained more to forward it to their boss once they recognize what it is. And same thing, a lot of times these guys go, hey, if you guys are interested, just have your boss call me. I'm only going to run through this once. So we do go through direct. I also, Carlos, just so you know, I have a specialized list that I personally, when I have free time, I call and chit chat with owners. Specialized list. If you want to know how to get that list, DM me on Instagram and I will help you figure out how to get a direct to mobile home park list in RV park. So I will personally do that that way. And then, yeah, I go on market, man.
Love it.
Especially with the market changing now. A lot of stuff is sitting. People may be more willing to accept terms. They would definitely love cash offers still, but I think with things sitting, if they want to get their price, terms and special seller financing and stuff like that is definitely possible. I am also give shout outs to Chris Rude and Tim Bratz. I mean, their programs really help figure out how to structure large multi-family or multi-unit style deals and how to do that. So I'm a part of 2 masterminds that I could go to help me structure those things. So yeah, I feel like you got to do it all.
Mm-hmm. So I think you said something interesting there about your cold callers. They know certain kind of conversations to hand off to you versus what they should take themselves. And I think like this would be pretty interesting for us to kind of dive into is that cold calling team. But before I really want to get in the nitty gritty here because there's a lot to do. But why do you still cold call? Let's start there. Like, what, does it proved itself over the years that you're doing it, like that you've been doing it? Like, is it something that a beginning investor should try themselves? Because I mean, Brett Daniels at TTP, like that's the main thing that he teaches. And I
love Brett, man. Yeah. He grew up the same as I did, man. Talking to people, knocking on doors, talking to people as a realtor, talking to people. We call them meaningful conversations in our office. I mean, it's the nature of the beast. It's how my dad raised me. My dad's a sales guy. I was forced to go up and down selling candy to people. Just talk to people is all he would ever tell me. Just go up there and have a conversation. So yes, but let me just step back to answer your question. When you're asking me, is it something that is it standing the test of time? I'm not going to answer to that, but what I'm going to say is look at what marketing channels do. Carlos, you know a lot of people that do PPC?
Mm-hmm.
What about direct mail?
Not as much maybe, but I would say, yeah, a lot.
No, a lot, but not as much as before. SMS?
A lot, but on the decline.
Okay. Now, when I look at my marketing channels, I look at what other people do, right? What is really crowded, but then I also look at the type of person. So cold calling is going to get me to somebody. It's easier to do. So I know I got a lot of competition. We're all calling the same numbers, but that's going to get me to a certain person where their number is able to be found, right?
Yeah.
We all know in marketing, I can't find everybody's number. So yeah, we direct mail too. We have a pretty big direct mail campaign. So my marketing strategy is more about trying to penetrate the market that I'm in or the markets that I'm in ways that I can assure I'm getting a hold of people, right? So if you don't pick up my call, I will leave you a voicemail. Check with your attorney in your local area to make sure that is still legal before you take any advice. And then I will direct mail you because if I don't have your phone number, right, I want to direct mail. So if you have some type of database that you can manage it. If not, REI Op Center is coming out to help you, right? But if you can't manage how many phone numbers did you get back and what sellers you don't have phone numbers, that's a great list to direct mail. So now I can target the people that I'm not calling. And then think about PPC. PPC is going after the really motivated, the ones out there looking for you, which is a lot different. So that's why I cold call. Not so much has it stood the test of time, but to me, it's creating a well-rounded marketing structure where I'm able to try to penetrate my market more. Like, I'm not going to do two of the same thing, if that makes sense. I'm going to try to round out my marketing efforts. That's why I
like
do
that. I mean, I think a lot of people think, oh, the marketing methods are not connected. They're just like, I got this, that's a great direct mail list. I got this, which is a great cold call list. I'll text whatever. And then, I'll have PPC kind of hanging out there. But that's an interesting idea to say your marketing should be well-rounded and all the avenues should be kind of all focused in one area. And it can be like a really interesting multi-step process for your marketing. Once you get, because, people think I buy a list and then I burn through the list. I buy a list and I burn through the list. Well,
you burn through the numbers you have, but that doesn't mean you got a hold of them. Like, it really comes down to your data, man. And that's why you and I started REI Op Center to really help with that. But forget about that for a second. You could have, if you have a really great Excel macro guy, a really great VA to help you with your data, there are ways for you to do this. It takes longer, right? If you don't have a database type thing. Yeah. But if you want to get started in direct mail to go hand in hand with cold calling on your list, like John just said, like burning through a list, you should be pulling out the people that you didn't get phone numbers to, and you could direct mail them. And that's a real niche style list that other people, because odds are, man, like if I can't find the phone numbers, other people can't find those phone numbers, because we all generally use the same like 3 or 4 skip tracing, and even those white label off of some bigger companies anyway. Yes. So it kind of all trickles down. A lot of people don't understand the white labeling efforts that happens out there for people to make a buck nowadays. But I love cold calling, man, because it's the way it is. You're talking to people. Yeah. Just like Brent says, you're talking to people. I wrote a new script for my team because I believe that a script, I told you guys, I think a script should be ever evolving, right? So I'm a believer.
What would that's the leading question there. what would cause your script to evolve? I think like everybody could say the market, right? Like right now.
So for example, and I'm going to skip ahead. We can definitely circle back to some stuff. I have a section of my script, right, where I break my script down into like 4 or 5 different parts. And one of them is questions, and we have a situation question. Right? My cold callers are not supposed to dive deep. Our average calls, right, typically range between 2 to 4 minutes for a cold call. And one of the questions that I've added in now is to dive deeper into foreclosures. Because guess what? 2 years ago,
nobody was.
They were printing money. We were getting free money. Foreclosures wasn't happening. It was still kind of, but not to a point to where we're encountering it more often. Some things are just your scripts evolving. Like I hold meetings with my cold call team. I have my own call center. So they get me once a week. And if I hear like a common question, I have like my little cold call notebook, and I'll write it down, and then I'll add it into a script. And so I have V1, V2, V3 version of the script. So I like to change it out every so often. Things like that, situational changes in the market, things that maybe your intro is not working. You need, to anyone out there trying to run their own call center, you need to pay attention to your KPIs and watch out what your team is doing to what's working. If your intro is getting you a lot of hangups, you need to switch your intro. I'll go on with this. The average voicemail picks up in 30 seconds, right? The average call between 20 and 30 seconds, right? So if your call is lasting, I basically say the first 30 seconds of your call is to get them to pick up. The next 30 seconds is for you not to get hung up on. But your intro, it's like when you check your mail, the first thing you do is open your box. When you pull out your letters, what do? You immediately decide trash, 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 keep it, look at it later, keep it, trash, keep it. And then when you get inside, you then open it up, decide again if you should keep it. So that's how I equate our cold calling intro. That first 30 seconds, when you get on the phone, your intro, what you say first out of your mouth is going to decide whether you wind up in the trash before they even look at the mail, right? Before they even understand who you are. So that could be a bad intro where someone mispronunciates my name. I'll do it. Hi, is Brandin Patterson of it? And I hang up. You can't say my name right. You don't know who I am. You're not someone I need to talk to. End of story. So, and then my next 30 seconds is about staying on the phone. We call it gaining credibility, right? Why am I calling? Why are you staying on the phone? Then after that minute, that 60 seconds, I now need to keep you on the phone to state my business so you don't, that's you back in the house with the mail, right? Opening up that shitty letter to see if it's really junk mail or if it's really an important letter. And that's where your good setting the stage comes in, right? And setting those that prequel part. So that's how I equate it. And I think that's why script changes is if you're getting hung up on, odds are it's not the leads, it's your callers and it's your script. And you need to change your script. So you need to be on top of it.
How long have you been cold calling?
My whole life.
Your whole life. No, I mean, let's go just real estate investing. Real estate investing. How long have you been cold calling?
I've been cold calling since I've done real estate investing. It is how I got my first wholesale deal as an agent. My first big deal was from a cold call that I called off of a list. Yes.
Is that 12 years? 10 years? 8 years? Well,
yes, I've been doing flipping and investing, but I didn't start when I meant wholesaling. When I started running my wholesaling business was 2016, 17, 16, whatever.
Okay. So 6 years.
That was, yeah.
All right. So I just want to make a clear point to everybody that's listening. Brandin has been cold calling for 6 years, and he is still changing his script. Too many times do I hear the word set it and forget it. And I think that commonly gets used in our space for people that think that automations are powerful and can help you save time. Set it and forget it is a bad way to say it. Yes, automations are powerful. Yes, having a cold call center and then handing them a script and then having them do that instead of yourself is beneficial, but you should never forget it. You should be constantly adjusting, looking, feeling, understanding, and seeing how can you improve your metrics.
100%. Now, playing devil's advocate with you, John, there is a limitation. You can't be crazy, bipolar, psychotic.
Good point. Yes.
Your script every month. Now, so when I say this for people who don't understand, like, we're speaking just generally. I mean, I don't know, maybe once a year, it just depends on what I need. I mean, this last script was, it's probably about a year or so old.
Yeah.
And then when you start to hear things that need to be changed, you adjust it. And let me be clear, I'm a big fan of, it's called the mosaic theory, where you're pulling a little bit of everything to form your own concept or theory of something. I put that into my entire life. This script that I changed to, it's like a 5-page script for my callers. It is a conglomeration of, I don't even know who to give credit to. I will sign up. If you're on Instagram or Facebook and you say, click here to get my script, I will do it just to see if your script is better than my script. I will click on it to see if there is anything that I can learn from your script. I don't care if you're new, old, young, old, whatever it is. I will, if you're like, hey, click this, fill out, give me my, and then they email me and I'm on their mailing list. But I have gotten scripts from so many people. I've read through them. Some I've thrown in the trash. Others I said, that's a good line. I would like to see if I can put that into my script. But big picture though, it adheres to our style, right? It adheres to our intro and our purpose. So I don't just change my style. Like, it has to fit our mold, because the way we train our people is on a no pressure sales tactic. Right? It's about checking motivation. Yeah. So there's certain things that we don't do regardless of what other people's scripts are. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point about, like, when you're saying play devil's advocate, don't change it too much. You've got to, and this goes into so many areas of business. Recently, our Investor Fuse are in the process of working on our website and our messaging. We've had the same headline out there for, 13 months, something like that, on our page. And it's like, okay, we're getting ready to change it. and we have a bunch of ideas, but I can't just be like, all right, today we're going to try this and see what happens, and then tomorrow I'm going to try the other one that we've thought of. You've got to wait a certain period of time and then to see results and see how this could change. And especially with cold calling, I'm going to assume if you change your script, your callers have to get used to it too. There might be a little bit of time where they've like, oh, well, that's right, it's now this, and they maybe don't flow as well as they did right before you changed the script. You got to give it that breathing room.
Don't be afraid to if you believe in something, if you think you got a good script, play it out. You know, remember, like even for direct mail, we mail like 8-9 times a certain list, or at least until we pull a new version of that list. I mean, just because someone didn't call us on 1 or 2, you don't just stop spending your money. Same thing, like just because the script's not working the first month, like John said, you're going to get them into it. You know, you got to get them used to it. But again, like make sure you're pulling ideas from other people. Like Carlos, you've been selling for how long? How long have you been a salesperson?
Since the end of 2013, I'd say.
If I asked,
after college.
If I asked you to name one person that you copy in sales, could you narrow it down to one person? Or like if I asked you to give credit to the one person who taught you your selling tactic, could you name one thing, one person, and one person only?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Right? I mean, you could name some, and maybe every year you learn. I mean, do you follow salespeople? I follow salespeople.
Oh, yeah. A million
in
percent.
Sales, there's no shame in it, man. Like, same thing in business. There's no shame in pulling apart the other person's curtain and seeing what they have inside, and then seeing if you could do anything from that. What was it? Was it Ford that bought a Tesla just so they could pull it apart? It was one of the car companies bought a Tesla so that when Tesla first came out, so they could pull it apart to understand how a Tesla
reverse
works.
Engineering.
Right? Yeah, reverse.
What's that quote? The artist copy quote? I always get
good artist copy, great artist steal.
There it is.
No, I never heard that. That's a good line. But make sure you stay true to your style. You can't keep switching your style around in cold calling and sales. So you have to have a certain style or vibe of how your company operates, right? A certain culture of how your people are supposed to sound and what they're supposed to go after.
Yeah. That's really important. I think you pull and gather, all of the stuff that you want to be kind of I don't know, you get what I'm saying. But yeah, you have to be true to some kind of core. Otherwise, be like trying to impersonate somebody else. I could just imagine being like, hey, our cold callers, like, here's our theme. And then all of a sudden one day you're like, well, actually, you know what I would like you guys to be is I would like you to sound like a California surfer. Like, just like totally, completely different.
We will never say your name. I will never it is immediate QA disqualified if you say their name. The only time in the script that we say the name is when they become a lead. We don't ask, we verify. And just to be clear, I'm speaking to and your addresses, because at that point, if I mess it up, you're already committed to my conversation. So nowhere in any of my scripts, any of them, from my cold callers to my closers, are my people allowed to say their name.
Yeah.
Same thing with texting. I tell them I hate when people are like, hi, Brandin, this is John. Don't say I know who the fuck I am. You don't need to say hi, Brandin. I know I'm Brandin. Okay? None of my friends or anybody that texts me goes, hi, Brandin, how are you doing, bud? You want to hang out tonight? And they just go, yo, you want to hang out? And so that's how I teach, and I train to try to keep it casual. So that's what I meant, John, by so no matter what other people's scripts do, and some people go, let me verify, am I speaking to? Hi, John White Filed. How are you doing today? Are you the owner of 222 Main Street? I will never say that. That's not in our script. If I catch my team saying that, they will get like QA'd, and if it keeps happening, you get fired.
How long? I've always
we could dive into it. We could dive into a ton of different questions John and I would have. What are you curious about though?
Well, I'm curious too if this relates to you, Carlos, and your experience, because you have been an acquisitions manager. It was funny. Brandon and I were on a call the other day, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, sorry, I got to pick this up. and he picked up a phone call, and it was a seller. And he didn't know it was the seller at first because they don't usually call him via his cell phone. So he kind of like, it was fun to watch and be like, who is this? Because he thought it was like, a cold caller trying to buy one of his properties. And then he realized it's a seller who's trying to sell their property, and he completely switched. It was pretty fun to
watch my tonality.
Yeah, watch your tonality. But my question is around, do your cold callers ever get to the point where they're comfortable enough to not use the script? Is that a bad thing that they do that? And then to go off of that, because I've always thought if you have a script and you're like, hey, dude, you must follow this script as a cold caller, what happens when the seller says something that's totally off script?
I love it.
How are they comfortable enough to respond to that?
Bro, best question, because that's everybody's question. It was my question. Backstory, I never used to use a script because I thought the same thing. So I'm a natural sales guy. My dad taught me. So I didn't think you needed a script, but then I realized the scale. But my always excuse was, well, how can I train? Because like every conversation is different. So how do you know what to say when so-and-so says this?
Yeah.
I get it. And you're right. So my script gives you possible responses and it goes through. So what we do is, yes, the good ones, John, to answer your question, the good callers will go off script, but not off the spirit of the script is the way I say it.
I like that.
You need to adhere to the spirit of our script. You know what questions you need to ask. You know, we call it a hand raise motivation, reason for selling. I don't care what your price is. I care more about the motivation, your reason for selling, diving deep into that. So they know what their goal is, and the good ones get to that. Now, John, how do they get to that? And that is daily training. So you can give them a script and say, memorize it, and they will read through it, and you can give them objections and rebuttals, but that's not training them. That's basically saying, here you go, get on the phones, right? And then every day you go, no, you fucked up. No, you're supposed to say this instead. And so you keep being negative, right? No. Don't say their name. No. Don't do this. No. Here's what you should do. No. And it's a lot of no's. But you're never actually training them on the daily. So every day we train. My manager is supposed to train them on one topic a week. So we break our script down.
So you go big picture on a small part of the script. It's not necessarily a sales tactic. It's giving them the context to understand why they're asking the question. Nice.
So like we'll go through intro and seller pre-qualification on week 1, right? And then week 2 will be like setting expectations, aka setting the stage, right? And in that, right, read through it. Then you start role playing with somebody else. So every day it progresses until the end of the week. And you just kind of cycle through that because I want to hone in on one thing. And that's from like a year's worth of trying this. So I ran my own physical call center out of Mexico. We started out in my partner's little house where he was building out cubicles out of drywall. May rest in peace. Then he passed away as we got our new office. Phenomenal guy. I couldn't have gotten to where I'm at without him. But we got our first office, did all that. And so our training was and it was different because it was in office, right? It was easier to do that and to help people in office when Carlos was there, basically, not this Carlos, another Carlos, when he was there training them on the daily. But when you go virtual, you need to become more structured for your team. So they know now at the start of their shift, they get I pay for it. I pay for the training. You don't hop right on the phones. I'm giving you the tools to succeed. You train on one topic, boom, about 30 minutes or so, boom, you head off onto the phones. Now, when we talk to you, it's not, no, you did this wrong. It's, hey, do you remember we practiced this morning? Do you remember what you're supposed to say? Right? And then we do weekly call reviews, right? Once a week, the manager goes together with like call review, right? Pulls off. So instead of hitting them every single day with negativity, be like, hey, let's listen to this call. Here's where you fucked up. It's now the manager is trying to figure out what are we learning this week? And let's coach to that, right? And then one-on-one coaching. Not randomly spot on. Like we do some of that, especially for new people. But so it's a more structured coaching environment and sales environment for our team, because our goal is to train our team to get better, progressive. It's one of our cultures, right? One of our core cultures, like be progressive, progress always. And so we train every day. And then if they want sales tactics, they meet with me on Monday. So
yeah. That's really interesting to think about, like the negativity part of it. Because I'm sure, I mean, cold calling, especially if you're outsourcing, you could burn through people really fast if not only are they getting the negativity on the phones and the hangups and the, go fuck yourself kind of deal. But then when they're like coming to their team and their team is being 100% negative about all the phone calls that they're having, how do you guys celebrate success? Like, how does that work with your cold calling team? Do you do that far stuff?
Yeah. So I have a very multi-tiered bonus structure. So again, I'm doing this for a long time, guys. Like, I have tried so many things. I've lost so many teams. Many teams exodus on me because I used to be the same way. I was trying to think of who taught me that weekly breakdown. And I was trying to think of who I learned that from to give them credit. But it wasn't my idea. I was doing something wrong with the negativity, and I was losing people because I wasn't giving them what they needed. So eventually I learned. And then even with that, I learned I needed to pay differently when I was running virtual versus in office. Because in office, you have this set culture that people come to because they could take breaks and they could play games. And so what keeps you motivated virtually, right? What keeps you showing up? Anyone who runs a virtual team knows, like, what keeps somebody showing up on the dot at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. or whatever it is, and not 9:05 or 9:10. Oh, sorry, I slept in. Right? And I have that. So I needed to solve that problem. I needed to solve the weekly motivation, the monthly motivation, and the quarterly. So short-term, medium-term, long-term motivation. So yeah, I set up bonuses, man. My team gets a multi-tiered bonus structure. They get attendance bonuses. They get conversation bonuses. They get deal bonuses, right? They get multiple sets of bonuses based on weekly and monthly bonuses. They get qualified interested lead bonuses when they hit certain approved leads, a certain count of leads. And then an all-star bonus. If they're hitting all of their metrics, they get another bonus on top of that. So I set up and then they also get quarterly bonuses. If they hit all their minimums and exceed it in a quarter, they get more bonuses on top of that. And this is the benefit. Just FYI, I know you guys haven't asked me. This is the benefit of running your own call center.
Yeah.
I get to set the tone based on how I want to pay people and reward people, and how I want to set the culture within my company, and how I could keep everybody on a certain path because of that. So, yeah.
That's an interesting thought, because, I mean, when Investor Fuse first started and we were, fresh little babies thinking that we could be a SaaS company, we had no idea how to find and like basically find and manage support people. So we used other companies. So we go to somebody else who had trained support people, technical support people that knew how to do it. They would go find them, bring them in, and then they would work for us. And we would pay the other company, and the other company would pay them. And it worked for the sense of, like, we didn't know what else to do. But we very quickly realized, especially with it being remote, that the culture was getting a massive just like ding, because we lost that connection to them. We're not like, we're there. I don't even know what to call it. Like, I can't think of the relationship, but they have their main job is with this company that we
don't work
hired.
For you.
Right.
But they do.
And it's like, you have no idea how they're being compensated for the work that they're doing for you. And we would have situations where we'd be like, man, this person's a rock star, and I would love to give them a bonus. How does that work? Yeah. Oh, you can't. I'm sorry, what? You can't give a bonus.
So
it was just horrible.
I had at one point, for one of the gurus, right? There's a guru out there who runs a call center, And so when I ran my Mexico call center, I had one of the people come on board, and he's not with me anymore. Jesus. But he had said what was happening at that call center is when they would get paid to pay out their people, the managers, not the American managers, not the guru, but I don't think that guy knew, they were keeping the pay of the people and not paying out the bonuses. And some of these VAs and callers are so used to not getting paid, their trust level is very low when working from one company to the next. Especially with the amount of gurus that they're teaching this business, it becomes very easy. The barrier to entry is low, so you get all types of people. So that's also something, John, what you're saying is like, I can control that, and I can confirm you're going to get paid. I pay you directly. I have a separate payroll department. It's not Brandin doing it. I have people that do it in my company, which is why I control my entire pipeline. Just like Rockefeller, he wanted to control the entire fucking thing from the way it went all the way to like his oil. He had the barrels, everything, the shipping, he had it all. And I want to control that. I don't think it's bad, right? Carlos, you said you know a guy who runs a call center, correct?
Next
They're
fish.
very, very successul, I imagine.
Callingreps.com. Yeah, I don't know.
Callingreps.com. Mention he came from Carlos.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting for someone that's just listening to this that's dabbled in cold calling or focuses on cold calling even to think about doing it in-house versus like outsourcing, because there's obviously pros and cons. Like you're saying, you own everything, you establish the culture versus, and like we've done, Investor Fuse has done that with development or, starting off with support people. It's an interesting topic to think about. And similar to like your culture, it's not like plug and play. Like you listen to Brandin and you're like, all right, I'm starting my own call center. Like it kind of has to fit in with where you're at in your stage of life with business and everything too.
Yes. That was the perfect thing right there. Depends on your stage of life.
Yeah. And when does it make sense to build your own team?
Yeah.
For someone that's listening to this, thinking about it.
It made sense when I had the money and the time. So I spend a lot of money on my call center. I can't necessarily say I do it cheaper than if I were to just outsource it. I could control my product quality, and maybe it's a little bit cheaper. I'm not 100% certain, because it's not like I don't pay the going rate. Like obviously out there on the market, there's a going rate for these types of people. But starting out, I would not recommend what I do. In fact, I didn't. Starting out, I went through multiple people's call centers where I hired at $8. I mean, back then I think it was like $10. I mean, everything gets cheaper as it becomes easier to obtain and competition increases, but $8-10 an hour, I'm hiring 5-10 of them, you know what I mean? Sending my lists off, paying for the dialer, all that type of stuff. And it got to a point, Carlos, where I was just like, how do I know I'm getting every single lead? And I'm not saying I wasn't. These are just questions I pose. How do I know I'm getting every single lead? How do I know I'm getting the same quality that I want? How do I know these people aren't dialing for other people at the same time? And again, these may not be concerns of other companies. So I hit a certain point where I said, man, I want to try my own thing. So then I went out and hired like a virtual call center, right? Instead of hiring one guy with a company, one guy's like, I got the callers, I'll just work for you type thing. And I tried that. And again, it turns out he was running like multiple things in the background with these callers, and they were data entry and all kinds of shit. And I was like, okay. And that's when I found my original partner, and how we were growing our business in-house in Mexico with a physical location and everything. And we scaled up that way. And then when he passed, and I had a lot of stuff where I lost all my equipment, everything. It was very hard. I went virtual. So it cost a lot of money, a lot of time. And I tried, I'm going to say 4 different, don't quote me on that, but 4 different people's versions of call center come buy my callers from me. And I wasn't necessarily satisfied. They have Podio web form, they push the lead in type thing. I wasn't satisfied with it. And now I love my team. I have Arjeen. She is phenomenal at what she does. I couldn't run it without her. It took me a while to hire and fire the right people to run my team. And now we created a career path for them. So, and that's also why I do it. I create a career path for my people because I run a mostly virtual team. We have people in office, but the main parts of my business are virtual.
So you had like blind spots just from the top there. You had blind spots that you're like, I don't know if it's worth having these blind spots. So start exploring different virtual options. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of business and life is like just kind of experimenting and seeing what's going on. When you have certain blind spots that you want more clarity on,
And
yeah, you got to have the experience.
So I use InvestorFuse, right? And everyone knows that by now. And I like to keep my InvestorFuse very clean. I want only my motivated leads because InvestorFuse excels at being a sales CRM. So I don't want it to be a prospecting machine. So because I run my own call center, I do a lot of RVMs. Again, check to see if it's legal in your area. But with that, I send that to my call center. They handle my low-grade inbound calls, filter them out, and then send them back through our CRM or live transfer it over. And also running my call center allows me to do live transfers. It gives me more flexibility with how I funnel my leads so I don't wear my closers down. These are benefits that I found outweighed the time and stress that it took because it hasn't been easy. I paused my business for like a year trying to sort out this whole thing. I slowed my entire machine down to figure out this part of it.
Very cool.
Experience. I mean, we keep talking about it on the show, and it's that conversation of, do you jump in and do something that you've never done before by like starting to hire people, or do you learn by experience? And I don't think we've ever really come up with like what's the answer to do, because like you said, you went through 4 different other solutions out there. You had yourself personally done cold calling. And it's through all of those experiences did you understand the best way to make this machine. Now, and not to say that you are, so don't ever anybody get out excited out there, but if you were to make a course of like, here's how to make your own call center virtually, even then, like, how can somebody take what you did? Like, sure, they would have some more knowledge than just like, hey, I had a dream last night, I'm gonna start my own call center, and you just like go and do it. You'd have some research to it, but so much comes from experience. It's hard to like give the right suggestion to people and be like, what should you do? What should you not do?
My course would be easy. It would be 1 page, 1 question, and it would be 1 statement. It would be like, get punched in the face a lot.
Yes.
Question would be, how many times have you been punched in the face? 0 to 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 10. If it's 5 to 10, you might succeed. And that, you know what I mean? Joking aside, like, that's it, man. There's no shortcuts. But on a side note, I do know a lot of people who do as many deals or even more deals than me that just plug and play their call center because it's not their main thing. For me, this feeds my business, right? And I know another guy who's crushing it even more than I am. And he also has the same type of setup that I do, where he runs his own marketing like company thing, where he's got his own callers. He controls that aspect of it, and it gives you so much flexibility. Like the level of training that I can do and critiquing, only from experience can I do that, and only from controlling my entire pipeline. But it's not
back to the beginning. Like the reason that you could have them start calling mobile park home owners is because you own the call center.
Yeah. And I don't know, John, if I would necessarily just give them a list of high value stuff, because again, callers aren't trained. So going on to the training, I don't train them the way I train my closers. Right? They don't get trained on certain things. They know what they need to know to detect a hand raise. And then I teach them real estate as they go. And if they get good, that's the trick, John. If they get good, I promote them out of the call machine.
Career path.
So yeah, necessarily, I don't keep my best people in the call center. I promote them.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest right there, is like being able to promote. I don't know, man. Everyone's got their thing. There is no right way to do this. I know people still texting as their main thing, and they still crush it. Like I just stopped doing that when the TCPA laws, when all that changed.
Yep. That's so interesting.
That seems like the main variable though for you. It's like cold calling is what feeds your business the most. So like that's what you want to have your hands the most
Not
around.
just leads, but like the business, right? Like, I mean, I've gotten multiple people from that do other things within my company.
Yeah.
So
career paths. It's a thing.
I love cold calling, man. I think there is nothing better than talking to people. I think getting on the phone, and I think it's a great training. You could really figure out who's got the ability to be a salesperson, who's got the ability to be a manager, who's got the ability to be a QA, a supervisor, a shift supervisor. We break ours into 2 different shifts. there's just so many ways, man. We could talk about this for hours because there's so many different things that you need to do to set up your own call center. But I do pay significantly less than for my people than what you would pay somebody who runs their call center because of the profit in between. I mean, I pay market rate plus bonus structure.
Yeah.
And
So
then, of course, the phone
better.
number. And I don't know, Carlos, do you know, like, I mean, when I did it, I had to pay for my dialer and stuff with the Guru, like with their stuff. Do you know if these companies, they charge for the phone numbers in the system, this dialer system and all that?
Yeah, they would either charge or they would have you sign up for your own. So I think my buddies that I mentioned, you would technically sign up for your own like Power Dialer account.
Yeah. Okay. So something like that. Yeah. So you're still paying the cost that I'm paying. The other thing is I control my phone numbers. I don't. Brandon doesn't do that. I'm not very good at sitting there doing that. But we have somebody who we have a way and the software that we check quality of our phone numbers, and we are changing. I mean, I spend thousands of dollars on phone numbers a month, swapping them out daily, multiple times a day to make sure they're not spam.
That's a whole
lot of money on phone numbers.
Yeah, that's a whole other best practice segment.
So when someone says, how do you get numbers? You know, what's your KPIs? Like, how do you get connections? How do you stop your numbers from getting spam? You want to know how? I literally pay a guy to make that his job. So when I said it takes money, it does take money. And if you don't have that ability to actually learn and build and go through the steps to do it, just hire Carlos, what was it called? What?
Callingreps.com.
Callingreps.com. Just call this guy and tell him Carlos sent you and use them instead of trying to do it on your own. I am a builder. I love doing the pieces, even if it slows me down.
That is, I think, really important. Too many times do people approach a business decision based off of what will give them the most profit, which is important part, but it's not the whole formula. You also need to look at, am I the right person for this? Do I have somebody on my team that is the right person for this? Or should we just be outsourcing it? Because if you're not a builder and you don't have a builder on your team, you will hate your life and you will not get the results you would, where you could spend more money, outsource everything, and get more profit because you're not having to build it. I think that's really important.
Ready? Bro, I've been here 14 years. Not even yet, but almost 14. I'm gonna be here another 14, and then another 14. George Strait says I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I'm the opposite, baby. I'm not here for a good time. I'm here for a long time. This is my life. This is my family's life. Me and my wife run the business together. My kids go with me to collect rent, to do stuff. Like this is how we live. It's not a get rich quick. I don't do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I love real estate, so I take my time doing it because I'm building a long-term machine. John, you explained that to me once. There's a difference. Are you here for the quick money, the selling, right? Or are you here to make this like a portfolio company within your business portfolio? And that's what this is for us.
All my exes live in Texas, like I'm George Strait.
Bruh.
But I have to.
Everything's better in Texas.
Another meeting. You don't know, Eric? It is. Everything's bigger in Texas. I had to bounce to another meeting. I need to make sure my calendar's blocked off past the 1 hour mark. But
no, you got to, dude. You got to.
We're
just about to talk about Elon Musk.
I know.
Damn. Well, you guys bring this home, and all the listeners have a fantastic weekend. We'll catch you next Friday.
Boom. Carlos out. John.
Yes.
Speaking of which, we got to switch to Pulse of the Week here.
We do. I got to change the screen so we don't look crazy. There we go.
Pulse of the Week. It's been going around today. Elon Musk
did something crazy.
The fucking hammer down on his employees. Just laying it down. I fucking love it. Because even though I run a virtual team, I still have an in-office team. I'm in the office now. I show the fuck up for my people. Because if I'm not showing up and I'm sitting at my pool, because I would love to be at my pool at my house, I'm sitting in my fucking pool, why is anybody going to do it? So, John, do you have the tweet or the post? Do you remember that?
I don't have the post. I read the letter.
Yeah, the letter. That's what I meant. It was everyone was sending around the Instagram post where he basically said that everybody has to be back in office. And he said, it's the least we ask of our manufacturing employees.
Yes.
So we need to, he's like, that's why I was living in the warehouse when I started Tesla. And I was like,
I'm trying to find it.
And that's the thing, man, is it's like you need to set the tone for your employees. So not so much just Elon Musk, but let's just say in general, as a boss, whether you run virtual or in office, you need to show up for your people, man. And that's what I took from his message. He's trying to motivate his people, his upper level management, and saying, hey, listen, if you guys aren't prepared to show up and get back into the office for the people, because they're a manufacturing company, right? For the people that have to, the guy putting the wheels on the car can't phone it in, okay? The guy making sure the robots are properly working on the assembly line can't phone it in. So why should management be allowed to phone it in? I make my virtual people show up every day on a computer. So if I'm not available to them every day, why should they be available?
Exactly.
I make my people be on Microsoft Teams and available all day long so I can ask them questions and talk to them. If I'm not responding to them on my Microsoft Teams, why can I ask that of them? So it doesn't just mean, I didn't take it as the virtual to in office thing, right? That real estate people could debate. I took it more of like, do what you ask, lead from the front. And that's what I felt Elon was talking about, leading from the front.
Okay, I'm going to read the letter because I had some thought. I didn't take
Elon Musk
from
voice.
it. Yeah, I can't do that. I didn't take that from it, which now after reading, I see that viewpoint, and I do love that point. And there's not much I don't like about this at all. I mean, okay, to be super clear, everyone at Tesla is required to spend a minimum of 40 hours in the office per week. Moreover, the office must be where your actual colleagues are located, not some remote pseudo office. If you don't show up, we will assume you've resigned. The more senior you are, the more visible must be your presence. That is why I lived in the factory so much, so that those on the line could see me working alongside them. If I had not done that, Tesla would have long gone bankrupt. There are, of course, companies that don't require this, but when was the last time they shipped a great new product? It's been a while. Tesla has and will create and actually manufacture the most exciting and meaningful products of any company on earth. This will not happen by phoning it in. Okay, so I see your point. That's like the second paragraph there about like the reason I slept on the floor was everybody else needed to show up. Like they were working hard to solve problems. If the CEO's not there, if the manager's not there, like how can they expect? And that's a super valid point. I think the other part though, there are of course companies that don't require this, but when was the last time they shipped a great new product? It just like blows up this whole kind of idea of, okay, because like a lot of people are staying virtual, right? I think like Facebook, Google, like if you don't want to come back to the office, who the hell cares?
Yeah, Facebook's out of ideas. That's why they keep buying other companies.
Right. But it made me start to think remote versus in office, like benefits in terms of collaboration and problem solving and thinking up new things. And so I mean, Investor Fuse has been, man, everybody's trying to contact me during the talk show. Don't they know I'm busy?
Obviously, they should be watching it, John.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to tell you.
What was I saying? So Investor Fuse has been remote the entire time. And that was because, and I do find benefits in remote. Like you can find the best people for the job anywhere in the world. But then there's this whole idea, like I remember when I used to work, I've never worked in I guess I've worked in an office, but anyways, like just the ability to collaborate quickly. Because, it's like, hey, we have a problem to solve remote. Let's book a meeting for Wednesday at 10 a.m. And then we'll be able to. Yeah, exactly. So it's intriguing, like that idea of he's like, I see the importance of people being together to solve problems and come up with amazing things. And we have done it virtual during the pandemic, and we have seen that it's not as good. So like that was really intriguing to me. And I've often like contemplated what would it be like if Investor Fuse went to a real office, and what could the benefits be? Because I've seen some SaaS companies, real estate SaaS companies, have a physical office, and then then they'll go like into more virtual people. And I've seen other people do the opposite. It's hard to say what works best, and I don't have that answer. Maybe that answer will never exist because, like I said, like I can find the best people for the job. I have the most amazing developer for Investor Fuse, and I don't know if I'd be able to find that person if I had an office in Orlando, right? Like what he's been able to do for our product is phenomenal. Could that have happened if I was hiring somebody only in a 30-mile radius? I don't know. So
that was also why I went virtual. Same thing. I mean, I live in a small rural town. I don't live in Tampa or Orlando. All the good talent was over there. They didn't want to drive in. But I think you could run a hybrid. But again, it doesn't matter. Whatever you choose, the way I read this, now Elon Musk runs a manufacturing company. That's most of his company are research and development companies. So they need laboratories, they need industrial warehouses, they need assembly lines. So for him, he doesn't have that option to run virtual, like say a SaaS company or a wholesaling company or whatever. I run a wholesaling and a flipping company. So I do need people in office because I need to go check on our assets, right? I need to collect rent. I need to do all these things.
Yeah.
So I run a hybrid team, but moral of the story is whatever you run, you can't phone it in, man. Like I could just be home right now. I don't need to be on my morning sales meeting. I have a manager. I don't need to do my Monday calls with my call center. I don't need to meet with my HR. I don't need to do a data meeting every morning. I don't need to do any of that. It would run. They all have each other's contact info. They can all communicate.
Would it be as good?
Ready? Yeah. Just like Elon said, when was the last time the people who phoned it in shipped a great product? I am innovating. That's my thing. I am creating my own systems, my own processes. I am creating my own structure of how a company works. Same thing we're doing with REI Op Center, bud. Same thing you're doing with Investor Fuse. It's the same shit. If I'm not there doing it, how am I shipping the best product? Not making the most money. You can make money right in a good time. But when the cycle changes and you're here and the market cycle change and the down and the low, are you able to pivot? Are your employees still getting paid or did they leave because the sales aren't happening as fast and they're on a commission base? What's happening there? So for me, it's I show up not because I have to, right? But because I want to, because I'm leading from the front and I'm showing my people like, fuck yeah, man. When I tell them, and the other thing I noticed, John, is Elon Musk painted the picture. In his letter, he was stern. He told you what was going to happen, why it needed to happen, how he did it, and then he painted the vision again for them.
Yeah.
We ship great product, the most innovative tech, come out with all this good stuff. And so every day I'm also letting my team know my goal is to be the number one best virtual real estate operation. When you look to how to run your virtual real estate company, not outsource it, but from A to B with all your own people and all your own process systems, I want to be the best.
Yeah.
When somebody wants to know how to start everything from scratch and do it, I want to be the best. And I tell that to my team every day. And that's our goal. Here is our goal. So that means everyone has a job to do.
Yep.
And you can't phone that. I told
you
I
phone that in
didn't want to work for me because of that. Did I tell you that? Yeah.
What part? Oh, yeah. Yes. The flexibility.
I was hiring closers and they didn't want to work for me because I had structure. And they felt that their previous company where they were closing, that they didn't have structure. They were allowed basically, here are the calling times, call between here, do your things, whether you're snapping, watching TV on the internet, going to pick up your kids, whatever it is, doesn't matter. That doesn't fly with me.
Yeah. Yep.
I fired a manager because of that too. He wasn't showing up for the meetings. Like, bro, you're leading the fucking meeting. How are you late to the fucking meeting?
Yeah, I would say like I've gone through that in my life. Like when Investor Fuse first started, it that was the beginning of a business for us, our first business. And there were times where it's like we're doing this for time freedom, right? Like we want to own a business because it's for time freedom. So it's like take a call in the car and be in a different location. And same thing for other people in the business. But in the last 2 to 3 years, it's like no, like this is my goal for what I'm doing is like way out there, and it requires me to be here longer than 9 to 5 to show up to be present, to be aware, to be super involved.
Let me be clear on what you just said if nobody understood that. Time freedom. The definition of time freedom isn't to have all your time free. It's to set your free time. So although you're hearing this, that Brandon works all this, no, that's not what I'm saying. Guess what? I set the meeting at 9 a.m. because that works for my schedule. I set the time schedule for the closers. I set the meeting for my data. I set the meeting with my cold callers at 2 right before I leave for the day to get my son from school. I set these things. I get into the office first.
Yeah.
I have my time blocking. That's what I mean by time freedom and what most business owners mean by time freedom. Not that we're phoning it in Bali poolside, right? Every fucking day. But that when I want a group conference call, I set it and say, here's my schedule. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm interviewing people right now. My manager's sending me people. He goes, can you do 6:30 at night to interview this guy? He's not available at 2. You know what I said? No, I can't.
No. Family time.
He's not interviewing me today at 2. Because I set my time. Because I run the business and I need to make sure I'm operating at my best.
Yes.
So, and that's what I think my biggest lesson that I've learned in the last 1 year since focusing on how to be an actual leader and not so much being in the business. That's my biggest struggle. Before I would have said yes to that. Now I said no. And I was actually proud of myself yesterday. I was like, fuck yeah, I did that. I said no. I thought about it. I was typing yes, fuck, I can do it. And I was like, fuck no, this guy's going to work for me. No, I cannot do that.
Every time you say no, you say yes to something else.
Exactly. And I did. Yeah. You know, I went for a run last night at that time, John, and I came up with the best phenomenal offer pitch for our new data software, REI Ops Center. And had I have done that interview, I wouldn't have had that brain breakthrough moment.
Yeah, exactly.
When you say no to something, you say yes to something else. Phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, let's leave it there.
Okay.
I think that's a great place to end.
Woo! Finger Gun Friday, baby. Shooting it down today. That's
a phenomenal week for all of us.
Love it. Good luck.
Don't phone it in. I'm not going golfing. I've got a giant list of things to do on this Friday. I don't take off. This just happened to be the thing I pulled out of the closet today.
Well,
all right, sir.
Wonderful day. Excellent day to make money, people. Let's get out there and have some meaningful conversations.
Absolutely.
Lock and load.
Lock and load. See y'all next week.